Okay. Okay, folks, call the meeting to order for Tuesday, June the 16th. And I'd like to welcome everyone to our regular council meeting. And first order of business is the minutes from the previous meeting, which I think was, flip through here for a minute, our last council meeting. May 26, 2015. Any errors or omissions in the minutes circulated? If not, a motion to accept the minutes as circulated. Moved by Councillor Moores, second by Councillor Pinson. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? Okay, no business arising out of the minutes. We do have a motion request on the table for leave of absence from Councillor Mercer. So if we have a mover for that, Councillor Moores.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the leave of absence request from Councillor Mercer. It's between June the 15th and August the 1st.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Moores and second by Councillor Finn. For a while, I didn't think we were getting a second there. That would have been interesting. Any questions or discussions on the motion to accept the unpaid leave of absence?
Before you do,
yes.
Just to clarify, I just read here, he says, or upon my request to return sooner if need be, so it's not necessarily August 1st. It may be sooner.
Any further discussions? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion's carried. Before we get into our disbursement report, I'll just like to announce that I've appointed a new cabinet minister today, and it's going to be Councillor Tom Pinson, who will be our new chair of finance, and certainly like to welcome Councillor Pinson in that position, which will be, I'm sure, carry on your duties. And your first line of duty is your disbursement report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the disbursement report for $325,699.04 be accepted.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinson and seconded by Councillor Finn. Any questions, discussions on the disbursement report? Councillor Cody Davis.
The last item on the disbursement report, Youth 2000 Center, yep. The Y2C grant, there's no amount showing. I'm working on the total here to see if that line was on another disbursement report and not included in that total, so I'll have it for you shortly if it's correct.
No problem. Well, it might, do you know the amount, Barry? The grant? Okay. Well, if it's not included, we'll just include that later. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. Let's see, where am I? This thing tonight is causing me some grief. Moving on to correspondence. No correspondence. Economic Development and Tourism Report. Councillor Cody Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. Economic Development and Tourism met on Wednesday, June 3rd at 4:30. In attendance were myself as chair, Mayor Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Manuel, Councillors Finn, Pinsent, and Moores. Staff were Gary Hennessy, EDO, and Stan Singh, BDO, as well as Todd Mercer, the Leisure Services Programmer. Also in attendance were Mr. Dwayne Sutherland of Tim Hortons, Ms. Judy Dobson of College of the North Atlantic, and Mr. Lawrence Poole of Jungle Gyms. Employment Readiness Partnership Presentation. The committee received a presentation from Dwayne Sutherland, Judy Dobson, and Lawrence Poole on a potential program to train workers for retail, restaurant, accommodations jobs for the future. Many businesses in our area, as well as across the province, are facing challenges in attracting workers to these jobs. A memorandum of understanding has been requested from this group. The Business Development Officer will follow up with the presenters on this and report back to the committee. Town Video 7 View Studios presentation. The Economic Development Officer presented a proposal from this company to produce a video of the town spanning over 3 seasons. The committee discussed the proposal and will look at other options that might be available before deciding on this proposal. The Valley Connection phone book. The committee reviewed last year's copy of our ad in this phone book. There were several errors, and the Economic Development Officer has been instructed to contact Phoenix Publications and ask for a reduced rate for this year and report back to Council. Councillor Bruce Moores was excused from this discussion as he was in conflict of interest. A hotel update. The Economic Development Officer gave the committee an update on the status of the new hotel announced recently for Grand Falls-Windsor. Mudfest status. The Economic Development Officer and Leisure Services Programmer gave an update on the status of the event scheduled for June 12th and 13th. They will continue to promote the event on the traditional media and social media outlets leading up to the event. McCallum Resettlement. The committee discussed the issues with McCallum and several other communities on the South Coast that are considering relocating to other communities. The committee suggested that we send out some general lifestyle information to this community. The Economic Development Officer will prepare a 1-page information sheet and look into the cost of mailing it to the citizens of McCallum. Dime Store Fishermen. The Economic Development Officer received an inquiry from Mr. Jim Huey, who hosts and produces a television program called The Dime Store Fisherman. It is based out of Alberta. They would like to come to Grand Falls-Windsor and take portions of our Salmon Festival as well as fishing on the Exploits River as part of one of their shows on Newfoundland and Labrador. The Economic Development Officer is looking into the details of possibly making this happen and will report back to Council first. Our meeting adjourned at 6:30 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody Davis and seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions, discussions on the minutes as circulated? If not, all those in favor? Against? The motion's carried. And moving on to the Public Works and Planning. Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Public Works and Planning Committee met on Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. I think that's the correct time, I'm not sure. The present were myself as chairperson, Mayor Al Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Bruce Moores, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Tom Pinson, Councillor Rodney Mercer, and Director of Engineering Works, Jeff Saunders. Visioning session Mill Lands. The visioning session report, as prepared by Track Consulting, was presented, but not much discussion. The committee recommends it be reviewed in detail at the next Public Works Planning Committee meeting. The 2015 Street Resurfacing Program. The committee reviewed the list and associated costs for the 2015 Street Resurfacing Program and recommends it be approved. The completion of the arterial road in this year's work is expected to be paved late summer or early fall. When completed, the street name changes as promoted in 2013 will be implemented. Tulip Drive will include from the Trans-Canada Highway interchange near Main Street to the interchange with Hardy Avenue. The business community that were affected by this change were contacted originally, but should be contacted again with a more firm date for the proposed change. The committee also recommends that Tulip Drive be the main thoroughfare and that all stop signs will be located on the secondary roads such as Palmview Drive, Whitmore Street, and Park Street. Development requests, W. Reed Construction at 43 Grenfell Heights. The committee discussed a request from W. Reed Construction for the development of a cul-de-sac at the rear of 45 to 51 Grenfell Heights. Access will be provided by purchasing 43 Grenfell Heights and the removal of the residence. The committee approved the request in principle. The rear property is owned by Crown Land and must be acquired by the town. When owned by the town, it would be offered for sale by public tender. Full engineering drawings would have to be submitted, a subdivision agreement, etc. must be in place prior to any work proceeding on the development. The committee also recommends that even though this proposal is permitted, notices will be mailed to adjacent property owners outlining the proposed development. Land request 23 Andrews Crescent. Council had previously considered 50 feet of additional land at the rear of 23 Andrews Crescent, where we were waiting on a proposed residential development plan to determine land available. The land available at the rear of 23 Andrews Crescent and the committee land is available at the rear of 23 Andrews Crescent, and the committee recommends the recent request for an additional 100 feet be denied and 50 feet be approved. Correspondence, 51 Beaumont Avenue, parking regulations. The committee discussed correspondence from a resident at 41 Beaumont Avenue requesting a review of the no parking restrictions on both sides of Beaumont Avenue. The committee recommends this issue be passed to the Municipal Enforcement Department for review and recommendations to the committee. Development request 45 Carmelite Road. Mr. Gill and Ms. Pennington. The committee discussed the request to increase the residential setback at a vacant lot at 45 Carmelite Road. They are considering purchasing the property but require the setback adjustment. The committee recommends the request be approved. Accessory building 58 Palmview Drive. The committee reviewed the request for a large accessory building at 58 Palmview Drive. This will be used to house a seaplane during the winter. The applicant has a large parcel of land, so the request is at the discretion of council. The committee recommends the request be approved. Home-based business application 12 Hat Place. The committee discussed the request for a home-based business at 12 Hat Place for computer training. This was advertised and notices sent to the neighbors. The engineering department did not receive any objections. The committee recommends the request be approved. Correspondence, Warhol Investments, the Club 63 property development at 109A Lincoln Road. The committee reviewed the request for a letter of support for the development of the former 63 Club property for the construction of a long-term care facility. The committee supports the increased number of long-term care beds in Grand Falls-Windsor. It also recognizes there are multiple companies interested in pursuing this public-private partnership to increase the number of beds. The committee recommends that a letter of support be provided to all companies, including Warhol Investments, for the development of new long-term care beds in Grand Falls-Windsor. Crown Land 33 13th Avenue. The committee reviewed a request to support the elimination of an access to rare land adjacent to 33 13th Avenue. This is necessary to access a piece of private land, and therefore the request is denied. Permit summary, April 30th, 2015. The committee reviewed the permit summary from April 30th, 2015. The value of permits are on par with 2014 numbers, and activity has increased recently. The committee recommends this report be approved. Canada 150 Community Infrastructure Program. The committee discussed a new federal program managed by COA. This is for small projects up to $200,000 and funding up to 50%. Cenotaphs are mentioned in the program details as an acceptable project. The committee recommends that an application be submitted to include the reconstruction and relocation of the cenotaph. The work is presently in our program, and with additional funding, we can realize additional worth. Closure of Maroney Avenue. A local area committee is planning a family reunion and have requested Maroney Avenue be closed to vehicle traffic on July 24, 2015 from 12 noon to 3 p.m. The committee recommends this be approved and be coordinated with municipal enforcement officers. Development requests, Mr. Porter. Mr. Porter submitted a report proposing the establishment of a recreational zip line on the X-Lakes River. The committee discussed this request and are excited about the possibilities. The committee recommends that staff meet with Mr. Porter to discuss the proposal and what support would be required from the town to proceed with planning. The meeting adjourned at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Mayor, I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
It's been moved by Councillor Finn and second by the Deputy Mayor. Any questions, discussions on the Public Works minutes? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion's carried. Councillor Finn, we have a demolition.
That's the demolition order?
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I put forward a motion this evening, so be it resolved that a demolition order be issued for a vacant building located on Ivanys Road, owned by Mr. Ray Hunter, and inspected by the town on May 12, 2014, and again on June 16, 2015, that an order be issued for demolition.
Okay,
I so move.
It's been moved by Councillor Finn and second by Councillor Moores. Any questions, discussions on the demolition order? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion is carried. Finance and Administration, Councillor Pinsent.
Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee met on Wednesday, June the 10th at 6 p.m. In attendance was the Mayor, Al Hawkins, Deputy Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillors Bruce Moores, Amy Cody Davis, Tom Pinson, and Darren Finn. Staff Barry Griffin, Director of Finance and HR, and Mike Pinson, Town Manager. 2014 Finance Cash Basis. The committee reviewed in detail the 2014 operations statement for the year ended December 31st, 2014. Total revenue for the year was $15,700,000. Total operating expenses were $15,625,000. Capital expenditures were $8,039,000, resulting in a borrowing of $3,730,000. The committee recommends that the Recreation Committee review the stadium revenue and expenses for 2014. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor cost as of week 21. Total labor was $1,131,440. That was $2,823, roughly 2% under budget. The committee recommends that staff continue to monitor labor cost. Cash collections. The committee reviewed the taxation receivable report as of May 31st, 2015. The total taxes outstanding as of that date were $4,007,392, an increase of $68,606 from the previous year. The committee recommends that staff continue to pursue all outstanding arrears. Cataracts Canadian Tire Golf Tournament. The committee reviewed a request from the Grand Falls Cataracts, Windsor Cataracts, to enter a team in their 12th annual golf tournament. The committee recommends this be approved. All-terrain vehicle regulations. The committee reviewed a prepared draft of an all-terrain vehicle regulations and discussed the fines for violations and recommend that be increased as per the attached table. The committee recommends the regulations be approved as amended. Funding request. The committee received a request for funding from the Windsor Collegiate Reunion Committee and St. Michael's Reunion Committee. The committee recommends this not be approved. Excite building. The committee reviewed a cost estimate for building renovations due to a leaking problem. The preliminary estimate is $200,000. The committee recommends that this be tendered and funding for the project be allocated from our municipal capital with 70-30 program. Debt review, Maloney Street. Committee reviewed the current outstanding debt for the town of Grand Falls, Windsor. It was noted that the majority of our current debt is at locked-in rates. The committee recommends that the Maloney Street borrowing of $3,479,094 be converted as per the attached resolutions for variable financing to a fixed rate due to current low interest rates. Policy manual. The committee reviewed the town of Grand Falls, Windsor policy manual and recommends it be approved as presented. Community Youth Network. The community reviewed a request from the Community Youth Network to sponsor a youth for our region to attend Building Communities for Tomorrow Youth Conference. The committee recommends this be approved. Safety Day. The committee reviewed the report for the annual Safety Day held June 4th, 2015. The committee reviewed the agenda and attendance at the event. The committee recommends staff for this commitment to maintain safe work environment and recommends we continue to reinforce this. Occupational health and safety policies. The committee reviewed policies for high visibility safety apparel and personal protective equipment. The committee recommends these be approved. Insurance Mudfest. The committee discussed the quote for insurance for Mudfest. The committee recommends that this be declined. YMCA financial statement. The committee reviewed the YMCA financial statement for December 31st, 2014. Due to our current funding agreement, the committee noted the strong financial position of the YMCA and commends them for their financial performance. Firefighters Ball, the community received a request for additional funding to recognize the 25th anniversary of the Grand Falls-Windsor Volunteer Fire Department. The committee recommends that $3,000 be approved for this. The meeting adjourned at 8:30. I move the recommendations of this report.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Pinsent, second by Councillor Cody Davis. Any questions, discussions on the finance report? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion's carried. Resolution. Two resolutions. I got to get into resolutions. All right, resolution. How far are they back? Page 173. 173. All right, I'm up to 119, 179, what's that? This is a dirty joke, right? Okay, resolutions. Councillor Pinsent.
Mr. Mayor. Whereas under Section 94 of the Municipalities Act of the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador, subject to the approval of the Minister, Council may borrow monies and issue securities for the repayment of monies borrowed. And whereas it is deemed necessary to borrow the amount of $1,726,939 to finance Maloney Street construction. Therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs, Council borrow this amount from a chartered bank in Grand Falls-Windsor, and this amount be repaid by general revenues at a fixed rate over a 15-year period. Be it resolved that the Mayor and Director of Finance be authorized to negotiate said loan and sign promissory notes and execute all documents pertaining to this resolution.
Moved by Councillor Pinsent, second by Councillor Finn. Questions, discussions on resolution number 2015225. All those in favor? Against, motion carry. Resolution 2015226.
Whereas Section 94 of the Municipalities Act of the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador, subject to the approval of the Minister, Council may borrow monies and issue securities for the repayment of monies borrowed. And whereas it is deemed necessary to borrow the amount of $1,752,155 to finance Maloney Street construction. Therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the Honourable Minister of Municipal Affairs, Council borrow this amount from a chartered bank in Grand Falls-Windsor, and this amount be repaid by general revenues at a fixed rate of over a 15-year period. Be it also resolved that the Mayor and Deputy Director of Finance be authorized to negotiate said loan and sign promissory notes and execute all documents pertaining to this resolution.
Moved by Councillor Pinsent, second by Councillor Finn. Questions, discussions? Although,
I'd just like to make one comment about it. The general public probably wondering why we're doing this. The reason that we are doing it is because where the interest rates so low is it saves quite a bit of money in interest by borrowing at the reduced rates rather than let the variable rate carry. And so that's just one of the reasons we're doing this. It's a big difference, and it's financially very sensible to do.
locking it in at a low rate. Resolution 2001-5-226, all in favor? Against? Motion carried. Parks, Recreation, and Special Events, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Parks, Recreation, and Special Events Committee met on Monday, June 15th at 4:30 p.m. In attendance were myself as Chair, Councillor Amy Cody Davis, Councillor Tom Pinsent, Councillor Darren Finn, Councillor Bruce Moores, and Mayor Alan Hawkins. Staff present were Mike Pinsent, Town Manager, Keith Antle, Parks and Recreation Foreman, Todd Mercer, Leisure Services Programmer, and David Nichols, Director of Parks and Recreation. Gorge Park official opening and maintenance. The committee discussed some repairs needed to the dock and gazebo areas at Gorge Park. The Parks and Recreation Foreman expects to have these repairs completed in the next few weeks. The committee discussed a date for an official opening of Gorge Park and recommends that the opening be held in mid-August. Correspondence, Exploits Valley High. The committee discussed correspondence received from EVH requesting that the town donate the use of Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium to hold the 2016 Safe Grad for a one-day rental. The committee recommends that this request be approved. The committee also recommends that any additional usage required of stadium be billed as per regular rental policy. Dog Park official opening and rules update. The committee discussed some safety concerns regarding some dog park users bringing children to the dog park and leaving them unsupervised. There is a risk that these children may get injured if the dogs get excited around them. The committee recommends that staff meet with representatives of the dog park to discuss this concern and some other operational issues and report back to the committee. The committee recommends that the official opening date of the dog park be selected at the next committee meeting, and I certainly look forward to meeting with the dog park group. So far, I have to say that the feedback I've been getting, and I think it's consistent all around, people are very pleased with the new facility. As always, with anything new, there are going to be some bugs to work out. And just in reference to the children left unsupervised, you know, I don't know that they're left unsupervised, but I guess the concern from a few dog park users is that children are not being closely supervised when maybe they should be with their running amongst the dogs and that. So obviously, the last thing that we want or anybody wants is for a child or anybody else to be hurt. And that's where that comes from, but we look forward to discussing that and other issues with the dog park group. Correspondence Mixed Slow Pitch Softball League. The committee discussed correspondence received from the Mixed Slow Pitch League requesting an update on previous facility naming request. The committee will have further discussion on this request at a future committee meeting. Bench request. The committee discussed a request from a resident to supply a bench to be placed on Lincoln Road. The committee recommends that this request be approved. Sutherland Drive Playground. The committee discussed the installation of new equipment and the development of the Sutherland Drive Playground site. The work is ongoing and progressing on schedule. And Mr. Mayor, anybody drove by down there will see it's progressing quite well. Everybody is excited and wants to see that done as soon as possible, and it's no different with this council. We want to see it done as quickly as possible, along with the new splash pad. And if everything goes well, very soon we'll see children in around there playing, and I'm sure it's going to be a very, very popular destination, as we spoke about many times. Active Kids Day. The Leisure Services Programmer presented a report on Active Kids Day, which was held on Sunday, June 7th at the Windsor Stadium. The department co-sponsored the event with Y2C. The event was a great success, and over 400 kids participated in the many activities. And Mr. Mayor, I mean, that's just another example of how the town had been partnering with these local groups to deliver programs for the community and for residents. And Y2C does a great job, and to have the town to show their support, I think, means a lot to them, and it allows them to hold even a more successful event. All the logistics and the support and equipment and that sort of thing and promotion that's required. Love the fact that we've been able to do that for the community and a lot of different groups, and to my mind, it's really been effective so far. JCP project. The programmer informed the committee that the department has received a JCP project grant to commence work on trail cutting for mountain biking and snowshoe course. Recreation grant application. The committee discussed a recommendation from the staff to apply for several pieces of active living equipment under the new provincial recreation grant program. The committee recommends that the staff apply for the proposed active living equipment. Correspondence, Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Baseball Association. The committee discussed correspondence received from the association requesting that the town assist to purchase 2 pitching mounds required for provincial and national baseball championships. The committee recommends that this request be approved and that staff work out the necessary arrangements. Provincial ball hockey. The committee discussed the new minor ball hockey program. The Leisure Services Programmer informed the committee that the new program now has 150 participants and the league is running well. 2 all-star teams have been selected, and they will compete in the Provincial Ball Hockey Championship in St. John's on July 3rd to the 5th. Provincial Bike Race. The committee discussed the first provincial bike race, which was held on Saturday, June 13th, 2015 in Grand Falls, Windsor. The department hosted and assisted the Provincial Bike Association. The event was a great success with 28 competitors from across the island. The Bike Association were pleased with the organization, and plans are underway for a larger event to be held in Grand Falls, Windsor in 2016. Mudfest. The Leisure Services Programmer and Parks and Recreation Foreman presented a review of Mudfest, which was held on Friday and Saturday, June 12th and 13th. The event was a great success with over 50 participants and over 400 spectators attended the Mudfest course runs. The social events were also well attended. The town received several positive reports from the participants, and all indications are that next year's event will be well attended. The committee discussed several suggestions to improve the event for next year. Some areas of consideration include changing the date to August, making the spectator area larger, adding a host announcer, PA system, and increasing some security detail. The committee commended the staff for their organization and operation of Mudfest, and it was noted that the staff will conduct a written review of the event on Wednesday, June 17th. And I won't say much more about that because I know Councillor Cody Davis was in attendance there, and I'll let her tell us some more details about that when her time comes around. Athlete of the Month. The committee discussed the implementation of an Athlete of the Month award to acknowledge a sports athlete on a monthly basis. The committee also discussed the possibility of combining a number of town awards ceremonies into one night of community recognition. Chairman Deputy Mayor Barry Manuel will research information on the establishment of this event and an Athlete of the Month and report back at the next committee meeting. Program registration. The director informed the committee that program registration for the Summer Sports and Recreation Program began today and will be held throughout the week at various locations. There has been a considerable amount of interest in this year's summer program, and the department looks forward to another fun-filled summer. And I'm told there was a huge amount of kids that came out last night with their parents to register for the various activities that the town provides. And all I'd like to say is that anybody out there who doesn't have information, contact the Recreation Department. 489-0797, I think is the summer sports number. And you can talk to the students who run that down there or the Recreation Department at 0450. And the town has a very wide variety of activities that are offered for youth, and I'd encourage everybody to get out and take part. Corduroy Brook Building Project. The committee discussed the Corduroy Brook Building Project. Some additional information was requested by a COA, and it has been submitted. The Leisure Service Programmer will continue following up on that application. 2015 Tidy Towns. The director informed the committee that he had been in contact with the Provincial Tidy Towns Coordinator and that our town was eligible to register for both the 2015 Tidy Towns and the 2015 Communities in Bloom program. The director informed the committee that he has proceeded with the town's registration in the 2015 Tidy Towns competition. And just for clarification, of course, we won our category last year in the Tidy Towns, which is the provincial category for, I think, communities over 5,000, I believe. And we're back in there trying to repeat this year. And the Communities in Bloom is actually a national competition. I know the judges have been here some years back when we entered, and I'm sure the director will probably be able to tell me the year, but I know it was some years back. We're back in again. That'll be in July, I believe, somewhere around July 17th, 19th. In that area, judges will be in town to go around, have a look at our facilities. So again, I don't want to sound like a broken record when it comes to litter and that sort of thing, but we ask residents to be diligent and also businesses to do their best to make sure that their properties are looking good so that collectively we can make a good presentation to the judges and hopefully have some success on the national stage. Fresh Start Theatre, the Leisure Services Programmer, informed the committee that the new Fresh Start Theatre program has been quite successful. The program is concluding with 2 play performances, one on June 14th and one on June 15th. The committee would like to thank the volunteer theatre organizers and directors. And again, throughout these minutes, the consistent theme is the town supporting and working with groups in the community to make these ventures so successful. Fresh Start and the ball hockey program and the Mud Fest and the Youth Center, and the list goes on and on and on. So, I don't like tooting our own horn per se, but sometimes, this kind of stuff goes unnoticed, and I can't say enough about how our Recreation Department have been doing a fantastic job with partnering and helping these groups. Correspondence, Exploits Valley 50 Plus Club. The committee discussed correspondence received from the Exploits Valley 50 Plus Club requesting sponsorship for a trip for seniors for this summer. The committee recommends that $650 be provided through the club to assist with their trip. The meeting adjourned at 6:50 p.m. and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Manuel and second by Councillor Finn. Any questions, discussions on the Parks and Recreation minutes? If not, all those in favor? Against? Motion's carried. Notice of motion? No notice of motion. Other business? Councillor Cody Davis.
I thought you were going
Short
to
and
save me
sweet.
for last. We'll see.
Short and sweet.
We will see. You want to say it third time?
Well, short and sweet.
We'll see. I do have a few items tonight, actually. A few functions that I attended, the regional district meetings for the Oddfellows and Rebecca's. I wanted to mention the Long Service Award winners. 45 years of service with the Oddfellows Exploits Lodge 2N, and the Esperance Rebecca's number 64, Joan Sweeney and Maisie Hiscock. 35-year service, Jeanette Powell, Mary Ward, Marjorie Critch, and Marie Knight. And Sister Joan Heighton of the Rebecca Assembly President presented those long service awards. And also Brother Dr. Tafrik Husni presented a 30-year service pin to Winston Ellsworth of the Oddfellows Exploits Lodge 2N. So congratulations to all those. That's volunteer years, so 45 and 35 and 30 years of service. Certainly deserves recognition and certainly deserves a little extra plug here at council for sure. I did attend the Youth Firefighters graduation on Friday evening. 23 graduates this year from the program, grades 11 and 12, and what a fantastic group. They give up 14 weeks, 2 hours a night on Wednesday, so about 30 hours they do for this program, and they learn all the basic firefighting skills. And they showed video clips and pictures of their experiences, and they were all thrilled. And the parents and grandparents and brothers and sisters in the audience, we could see the smiles from ear to ear, and so proud of their children, and we want to pass on our congratulations to those youth as well. The Falls Flash Bike Race, Deputy Mayor Manuel mentioned it in his minutes. I was down at that on Saturday morning. I want to say a big thank you first off to Jason and Tammy Barton and Sue Rogers, who were the organizers of that race. All the volunteers who helped to direct the racers and make sure they were safe on the roads, and as well to our municipal enforcement officers who were on hand to make sure again that the racers were safe and that vehicles were obeying the laws and paying attention to the signs to make sure all the racers were safe. So looking forward to that race continuing. Fresh Start Theater, I had the opportunity to see the play on Sunday afternoon, How to Eat Like a Child and Other Lessons in Not Being a Grown-Up. It hit the nail on the head, I have to say. And my 3 children were with me. I think they picked up a few new tips, which I'm not looking forward to. But it was an excellent job, and congratulations to the co-directors, Dave Anthony, Linda Nudio Flynn. The musical director was Maxine Stanley. The stage manager was Melinda Anthony. Choreography, Catherine Nudio Trim and Linda Nudio Flynn. And Rod Suley did set construction. The signs were done by Gail Vokey Poole, Rosalind Powell, Paul Butler Grimes, and Cindy Liver. And the set crew were Hedley Rousel, Jay Pittman, Lawrence Poole, and Adam Penny. So that's just the volunteers it took to put the set together and the play together and direct the children. And then the children who were involved, I won't read all their names, although I probably should, but they all, I should?
I think we should actually, when I saw last night, I thought it might be something we should talk about entertainment for our Salmon Festival dinner.
I think absolutely.
Just excerpts from it. I mean, it was absolutely fabulous.
It
what
was.
a job the children did.
It was great.
It was quite good.
They did a fantastic job, so hats off to all of them. It wasn't extravagant, but it was to the point, and they all said their lines so clearly, and they maneuvered around the stage and reset. So it was excellent, and so thanks to Fresh Start Theater for doing that, and we look forward to further productions from them. And the last item that I have on my list for tonight is Mudfest. We started planning this event last year, and we're a little bit late in doing so. So we decided to put it off until this year so we could do it right, and I have to say we did it right. We made the right decision last year. We put a lot of planning, a lot of effort into it. The Public Works Department was on site for 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of people may not realize that was a treed area, fully grown in, no landscaping done in that area, so that had to be completely cleared and grubbed. Then the trenches had to be dug, and the oval, and then you can't just dig a hole and hope it's going to turn to mud. We actually had to create the mud. So they had to, prepare a mixture of sand and water and make sure the consistency was good, and then there was rain on top of that, so they had to make sure that, it stayed consistent and add more sand and drain out some water. So it certainly didn't happen overnight. So
If everybody just closed their eyes for a moment, we can visualize it. This is what you call detailed explanation.
Well, you know what? I think the public needs to understand the amount of work that goes into an event like this. It doesn't just happen. You can't just say, we're going to have Mudfest and here's a few puddles and fill your boots. I mean, this took work. It took effort. There was a lot of planning that went into the event. It required a ton of staff, a lot of volunteers. It required the participation of the general public, who not only participated in the events but also came out to watch the event. Our staff were working the whole weekend. They had a ton of events that were going on, our Parks and Rec staff. We had a social Friday night for Mudfest, where our staff was in attendance, serving and taking care of the participants. Then Saturday morning, they were up at the site making sure everything was ready. They left that, went to the bike race, then they had to go back up to the Mudfest site to greet the visitors and participants and work security. And then they left that, went back to the dinner for the Mudfest participants, and then stayed through the evening for the social to make sure that everything was in order when everybody left that evening. And then Sunday, I believe they were back at assisting with the Fresh Start Theater group. So, I mean, our staff, nobody can touch our staff. I don't care what community you're from or, the type of work that you do, but I will put our staff up against any community, anytime. Our Parks and Rec staff, Public Works staff, the amount of work that they do, you see them out in the community, you see them every day. So the next time you see them, I would like for our general public to say thank you for the work that they do and recognize them, because they are the ones who make these events successful. We do a lot of the planning and things like that, but they're the ones who are actually on the ground doing the work and preparing for these events. And the same with Salmon Festival coming up again. You'll see that all our management and everything is, face and eyes into all the logistics and everything, right from the planning right to, the day of the concert. And then you have our other events surrounding the festival as well. So thank you to our staff. We do appreciate you, and thank you to the general public as well for supporting all of these events, and we look forward to seeing you at our upcoming events, which will be happening very soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Moores.
I'm all beat out after that one. I have nothing this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moores. Councilor Pinsent.
Now on, we start on this, she takes all the glory, takes everything pretty well with everybody else got to talk about. I'd just like to recognize, we've got about 20 or 30 things here.
Right.
Just a couple of things, kind of a sad note. Walter Critchley passed, and his memorial service was today. And those of you who don't know what Walter Critchley, he was a very respected member of the community. I think he was a councillor at the former town of Windsor, heavily involved in the town and everything else. So condolences to his family and his friends. I'm just going to echo a couple things. I'm not going to go into it as deep as Councillor Brody Davis did, but the Mudfest. And of course we're a bit nervous because, we will never have the numbers. Fortunately, the numbers came around last week, which was great, and was a great event. And I'd like to commend our workers as well. I think Cody Davis mentioned our staff and how much work they put into it, and he did. Rod Drake could open up his own steak shop. I learned that Saturday night. But the tremendous amount of work, so I hope that the Director of Public Works, Director of Recreation will pass our congratulations and well done. Remind residents, the roundabout session is going to happen this week. This is your chance to come out and say whether you're for it or against it, to come out and have your say. You know, community involvement, so here's your chance, okay? Sometimes this was passed back in January, and it's now June, and now it's sort of the talk of the town. So here's your chance, but in one way or the other, we have to move on. We have to get it whether you agree or we got to make a decision and move on with this. So community, come out and have your say. Congratulations once again, Cody. She stole all our lines here. Fresh start for their fine performance last night. Congratulations to them and to some of the town staff who once again were involved. And myself and the mayor had a chance. I'll steal some of your thunder here now. Went to the Army Cadet.
Usually by the time it gets to me, I've got nothing left in the way.
That's true. That's true. The
That's
Army Cadet.
This is your role, so this is your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to give another minute.
Myself and the mayor attended the Army Cadet Mess Dinner. Congratulations to the Army Cadets. I think we were all so busy the week they had their review. I don't think any of us could get to it. We're all out of town, but they invited us to the mess dinner, and it was well done. Congratulations to them. Also remind residents that there's a lot of painting and road work, painting the streets and painting the crosswalks going on. A lot of road work, so I asked the residents to keep an eye open for them as they continue to make the town beautiful for the summer. That's it from you.
Thank you, Councillor Pinson. Councillor Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of things this evening. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the new street signs with the poppy, the white one with our logo on it. And I know it's not a significant change in town, but it's certainly very noticeable. The public has picked up on it right away. Tons of suggestions. Even people have come forward. A number of people have approached me in my travels suggesting other names because just a simple change is creating heightened awareness. So they've gone over really well. And what I suggest we do as council is, because, as one of the questions I'm getting is, what is the history on some of these streets? Some streets are named and people are not even aware that they were named in memoriam to war events or people. And so I think we should, we have a document that outlines what the reason, what is the history or purpose is behind each of those street names. And I think we should post that maybe on our website so that it gets in circulation to the public, and and to educate our citizens on why our streets are named as they are. So I'll just ask that we do that as a council. I'm sure council will support that. I will say, there are a number of streets that people didn't even know they were on streets that were named in memoriam to war events or people. And I'll just name them. It's not a long list, but it'll only take me a second. Beaumont Avenue, Caribou Road, Cater Avenue and Cater Place, Edwards Place, Goodyear Avenue, Jones Street, Hicks Place, Perron Road, Hague Road, Essex Place, Sampson Road, Memorial Avenue, Manchee Road, Shallow Street, Shepherd Street, Southcott Street, Suvilla Road, Tucker Place, Mayo Street, Ogilvie Street, and Perron Road. So it's not a long list, but the streets name signs certainly stand out, and the poppy is very special to have on the street names and required the approval of Dominion Command, I understand. Is it Dominion Command? Yeah. So I just wanted to raise that, Mr. Mayor. As Councillor Pinsent acknowledged a moment ago, we do have a public session tomorrow night about the roundabout at the Fire Hall at 7 p.m. and I do want to invite the public to attend that session. It is the current status of constructing a roundabout at the intersection of Granville Heights, Hardy, and Scott, is that we've approved that project to go ahead and we've done the engineering work, or it's complete, I should say. So that session tomorrow night will include a presentation from council outlining the project and the rationale behind that led us to that point. However, we do recognize and agreed in our last meeting that it is also an opportunity for input, so we look forward to getting input from the public, whether you are opposed to it or have a different idea or support it. And I've certainly encountered all three groups of people. So I look forward to that tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Fire Hall, and encourage citizens that are interested to get out. It is an intersection that encounters 10,000 up to, that is forecasted in our forecasting to deal with up to 10,000 vehicles a day to interact with that intersection. So it is not a local issue. It is a community-wide issue. It's a major intersection for us. It's on an arterial road, and it impacts citizens outside of our community well because it's right off of a Trans-Canada Highway interchange. I just encourage citizens across the community to attend, and even if you don't have an opinion, to attend and learn about what we're doing there in constructing a roundabout. So I just want to say that, Mr. Mayor. Also, Mr. Mayor, I want to just take this quick opportunity to remind residents about our covering garbage regulations. We have gone through a period in the past couple of weeks where we had students travel along the same routes as our garbage trucks on the collection days, and issue or leave behind letters at residents that weren't covering their garbage. And there's a significant number of homes that still don't cover their garbage. And there's a regulation that we have that requires you to cover garbage. It's purely to protect the garbage from seagulls and crows, so that the bags don't get broke open and the garbage then gets blown around the street and contributes to a litter problem. So we have a lot of, a significant amount of non-compliance. I would think it was in the range of nearly 800 homes in the last round. So that's a lot of homes. It's too many homes. Encourage residents to cover their garbage. Council went through a process of deciding to, because it's an education component, we all recognize that, of issuing letters, and so we have a lot of those letters out reminding people, and I just want to remind people that tickets can be issued, and it will get to that point if your garbage is not covered, and it's totally an unnecessary ticket to receive, and I personally don't want to see that, but I recognize it is a regulation that council has in place. So I'll just encourage residents to make sure you're diligent in covering your garbage. The other thing, Mr. Mayor, I want just to...
Basically, whatever you put by the curb should be covered. What we're experiencing with some of the recycle bags is that the weight is very low, and they're blowing out in the street.
Yeah.
So basically, when we say cover, basically cover whatever you put to the curb,
Yeah.
keep it simple. So you don't have to say, well, that's not an issue. Keep it simple, just cover what you put in.
Yeah, and you're right. Thank you, Mr. Sanders, for raising that, because a lot of people aren't covering bags that necessarily have recyclables in it because they don't believe it's really something that would probably attract a seagull or a gull, because it's just recycled materials, paper, empty containers, not necessarily peeling. But all of that, all garbage has to be covered in a container, covered by a net or a tarpaulin or a blanket or something of that nature. So thank you, Mr. Sanders, for that. The next thing I want to talk about, Mr. Mayor, that certainly affects this town, is the electoral boundary changes. The commission came out with a report that put a dividing line between across our community again, separating our putting our the town of Grand Falls-Windsor in 2 different districts, which is something we're used to. But the original proposal was that Grand Falls-Windsor be 1 district. Personally, I'm disappointed that we split as a community again, and I thought our population of 33,500 ideally met the criteria that were laid out by the Electoral Boundaries Commission. And while it's not catastrophic to representation for us, there are some advantages to having 2 MHAs as well. It wasn't my desire, it wasn't my choice. So for that change to occur was disappointing to me. The thing I want to focus on, though, Mr. Mayor, is in our presentation to the Electoral Boundaries Commission, we didn't focus on that component necessarily of our desire to have our community as 1 electoral district or election district, but we focused on the loss of representation for rural Newfoundland was the focus of our presentation to Electoral Boundaries Commission, and and so there are 8 so our representation for a province drops by 8 MHAs, but 7 of those are lost right out of the island portion of Newfoundland. And so based on 13,500 people, plus or minus 10%, that's how representation was decided, except for Labrador, who retained 4 MHAs, and with populations as low as 7,000 in some ridings. So, you know, they had their rule, 13,500 plus or minus, except for Labrador, which I thought was unfair. You know, in terms of representing, you're not representing land, you're representing people. And people live on land and utilize resources. So the fact that that particular complaint or that point wasn't acknowledged in the changes was personally disappointing for me. And I'll say by comparison, you could be an MHA in St. John's and you can walk across your whole district. You don't even need a car to represent them. So out here, I mean, an MHA, in my opinion, an MHA in St. John's Centre has the capacity to represent more than 13,500, and they should have had higher numbers of representation per MHA in the urban centres, and lower numbers like they accommodated Labrador, but never accommodated the island part of the rest of Newfoundland. So they accommodated special case for Labrador. No special. All of the districts in central Newfoundland bore the wrath of that decision, and let it flow right on in through. So at the end of the day, we lost 7, but the converse of that is that Avalon retained all of the representation, and that will not pay off in the long run. There are decisions over time that all of the ridings of the island part of Newfoundland will suffer for that over time in various ways. So I just want to express my view on that publicly tonight, Mr. Mayor. That was the last issue I had, so thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Finn. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few things there, as usual. Just to follow up on the boundaries, I agree totally with what Councillor Finn had to say, and I know this council does as a whole. I actually presented to the committee, and we understood how Grand Falls-Windsor as a standalone community was going to be making sense. But obviously some pressure from the surrounding communities, Buckens, Badger, Millertown particularly, to want to be in with Grand Falls-Windsor, which is perfectly acceptable to me, and I believe I see where they're coming from totally. But what happened when they had to put them in, they looked at this foolish quotient and they ended up having to lop off a part of Grand Falls-Windsor in order to meet the quotient. And for the reasons that Councillor Finn just mentioned, the quotient is silliness, and we basically...
I think we would have been only 2% over.
Would have been, yeah. And again, I'm not going to rehash everything he had said. That's what we brought to the committee as our arguments, and unfortunately, if I were living in the area that was lopped off, I'd be very upset now, and I'd encourage those residents to...
there are many upset people.
To express their views. Moving on, the roundabout. I'm not going to let on which way I feel on that. I just want to add on to what Councillor Pinson had to say. Come out and have your say, and I certainly encourage any citizen to do that. However, what I would like to say is I've heard in some of the communication, you know, well, I hope council has an open mind. And I get it, and I agree. And personally speaking, I have an open mind going in this. That's why you listen to people. But I hope the residents have an open mind as well. You know, we need everybody to have an open mind. This is very much an education session because I do believe that not everybody really understands what it was that was being proposed from the beginning and what has been accepted in that. So open mind being the word of tomorrow evening, and I hope both sides have that, and it's a very productive session.
It's very much a public safety issue as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm sure all that will be discussed in more detail tomorrow night, so come out. And I always encourage feedback from residents on any issue. I know everybody here does. Tech. Last week, we had the fortune of being able to attend the Tech closing dinner at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium. And I had to say that Tech, true to form, put off a tremendous event with some 500-600 people, invited guests there. They had Snook as the guest MC. They had the Fables playing there. They had a great spread of food and just were what they've been all along. All class, always really invested heavily into relationships. And I've said this before in a public setting. I've had the opportunity to speak at a couple of places where Tech were there. And never in my lifetime have I seen a corporate citizen so good as Tech in terms of the giving back to the community. And you talk to any community group here in town, just about, they've all received support from Tech, and some at huge degrees. And the communities in the region have benefited so much. And obviously, it's a huge blow. But it's something that we knew was coming for many years. And we hope that mining in the future and some of the promising finds that are in the area now will bear some fruit in the next 3 to 5 years, and we'll see some more activity. But I just wanted to thank Tech once again for their commitment to the community. The mine has officially stopped production now, I understand, but Tech are not going anywhere. For the next 2 or 3 years, they'll still be here because right from the beginning of this project, Tech had reclamation on their mind. As soon as the shovel went in the ground, they were thinking reclamation, and that's what I hear one of the gentlemen who works with Tech, the way he explained it. They are determined to leave that site as they left it, and just want to thank them for their community investment over the years, and they're going to be sorely, sorely missed. Moving on, just a few quick things there. I did have the opportunity to MC the Youth of the Year. You were in attendance, as was a couple other councillors. And I just wanted to go through the nominees for the Youth of the Year for 2014 were Shalomi Barker, Andrew Daw, Sarah Green, Kiana Hale, Tracy Hanlon, Rachel Lane, Ashley McKeegan, Abigail March, and Nicholas Power. 9 nominees, but only 1 winner. And the deserving winner this year, and all the resumes of these kids is just fantastic. But congratulations going out to Rachel Lane, who was the Youth of the Year as picked by a committee of media representatives. Roger Andrews. I don't know how many people here know Roger Andrews, but Roger's a friend of mine and grew up here in Grand Falls-Windsor. He now resides in St. John's and is a chef instructor at the College in North Atlantic out there. And Roger was on Chopped Canada, which is a program on the Food Network. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with it. And Roger not only appeared on the show, but he won. And he won $10,000 for his efforts. He was one out of the 4 competitors in the episode. It was my first and only episode of Chopped Canada I've watched, I'll admit. But I did go find it. And congratulations to Roger. And what struck me in watching the episode was not about the food and what he prepared and all that, because I know he's a great chef. But was his way with people and how modest he was and how he was always said encouraging things to the other competitors and that sort of thing. And Roger, in similar competitions in the past, finished second, and this time he was first. So I just wanted to congratulate Roger. And moving right along with some congratulations, another very deserving former resident of Grand Falls-Windsor was inducted into the Newfoundland and Labrador Hockey Hall of Fame this past weekend. It was Mr. Jim Hornell. And Jim Hornell, of course, originally from Buckins, His dad was, well known for the Boys and Girls Club up there that's still in operation, very community-minded in his own right. Jim moved to Grand Falls-Windsor at an early age, and he was very involved in the community, not only with hockey. My earliest memories of Jim were at the old swimming pool, with the no roof up there, the town depot now, and Jim was a lifeguard up there. And I remember him in the pool, and he went on, of course, to move up the ladder of hockey, and he ended up for the last 2 years being the chair of Hockey Canada, a former resident of Grand Falls-Windsor. And anybody who knows Jim, he's just a great guy, very personable guy, very smart guy, and he always struck me a couple things about Jim. One was how he treats everybody with respect. It didn't matter who you were or where you came from. He treated everybody with respect, and he also always had words of encouragement. I know for myself as a hockey player, as a referee, baseball player, and that Jim was always an encouraging person, and he was encouraging to others. So congratulations to Jim. He tells me that he will be coming back to Grand Falls-Windsor for a little bit of a stay this summer, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to see him then. But very deserving member of the Newfoundland and Labrador Hockey Hall of Fame inducted this weekend.
Mr. Mayor, he facilitated our very first economic development master plan. Absolutely.
Yep, Jim.
Long time ago.
He did a lot of facilitating. He also was a facilitator, I think, originally for the centennial celebrations, and helped in planning and setting out some of the terms for that, and other things as well. I wouldn't even try to remember everything that he's accomplished in that, but to say that he's been chair of Hockey Canada for a couple of years in itself is a huge accomplishment. Again, congratulations. Youth mental health. People remember that about a couple of months ago now, I guess, a month to 2 months, there was a session held at the Grand Falls Golf Course with the Dr. Lynette Powell and Chris Luston heading the way, and they had stakeholders, about 35 to 40 people. I attended, and there were teachers and social workers and RCMP, and everybody was there to talk about the crisis that is youth mental health in Grand Falls-Windsor. And they've taken it upon themselves to push this issue, to try to come up with some proactive approaches so that we can try to address this terrible issue. And they produced a report from that day, and that report now will be presented to an all-party committee of government on the 23rd of June, I believe. So a half-hour presentation set aside. Lynette and Chris will do that presentation, and they're going to be proactive to continue with trying to address this crisis, is what it is really, and we've talked about that, but I just wanted to point that out so that viewers know and residents know that we are out there continuing to try to come up with action when it comes to the youth and the mental health situation here in town. And speaking of action, I just want to talk a little bit about RCMP. And I don't think it was that long ago that I stood up here and talked about RCMP, did some interviews back in March, Councillor Finn says, so not that long ago. I'm sorry to say that not only have things not changed, in my opinion, but they've gotten worse. We have a detachment here in Grand Falls-Windsor which is understaffed, overworked. You have people who are there as rookies who have to be supervised when they're doing things. You have people who've been plucked out of this detachment and put out in Springdale area because they are short out there. You have people who are in the midst of transfers. You have senior management people who are ready to leave and retire in July and August of this year. You have members that are experiencing extreme burnout. And we, like all other areas of the province, depend on the province to provide the resources to make sure everybody has fair and effective police coverage. But I'm sorry to say, here in Grand Falls-Windsor and region, we do not. And some people look at me and say, oh, you're not going to say that. I mean, you're going to scare people and that. Well, guess what? It is scary. Because if you take a area like Corner Brook, for example, and I'm not trying to pick on them, but an example who has RNC coverage, Corner Brook has a minimum of 5 RNC members on call, or should say on call, working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. A minimum of 5. And here we are with a larger geographic area, with a very similar population base, and we have not even half. If you pick up the phone and call the RCMP at 2 o'clock in the morning on the weekend, you're likely going to get a member out of bed to have to come answer your call. So, us as council, we've agreed that we are going to start screaming on this again, and even yesterday is overdue. We need to get on this and get on it hard. And I would suggest and encourage the residents out there to voice their concern. Call the minister, talk to your MHA, write letters, call the open line shows, talk about the fact that we are not getting the coverage here in Grand Falls, Windsor, and region that we deserve and we require. The crime is continuing to go up. You know that the RCMP will tell you that they know this one, that one, and the other one are culprits of crime, but hey, we don't have the resources to do anything about it. And God forbid if there are any serious crimes here, when someone needed assistance and are unable to get it. So please, help us in this fight, and us as council really need to step up the pressure meter on the provincial government. This is an election year, everybody knows, and let's make this an election issue because we need those resources, and we want to make sure that this region is safe. And when you see other regions of the province with more coverage and more officers and more resources, that's not the way it should be. Not when our provincial government is funding the different regions.
And the structure is different too, because provincial government provides a higher funding level to RNC than the RCMP.
Provides a higher funding level, and also the RCMP provides
Their
federal.
budget is structured a little differently too. I understand that the province gives the RCMP a set amount, and you got to work within that budget.
Right, yet the RNC can, if they go over budget, make a request 9 months into the year and get more funds, which to me just does not seem right when you're looking at the entire province.
Mr. Mayor, to put things in perspective, what we were told, a senior constable with the RNC and a senior constable with the RCMP are relatively paid. You know, I think the senior constable with the RNC makes more than the RCMP. But the kicker is that the federal government pays for 30% of the RCMP wages. So the provinces, you know, it is cheaper for the province to use the RCMP than the RNC. But here we are, you know, under-policed with a fixed budget, as you just said, here in central Newfoundland and in Corner Brook and in St. John's and the whole northeast Avalon. There's no real budget constraints like that. The RNC has a budget of $30 million, and they have to live within that no matter what. And the RCMP does. And you take when somebody goes through the ice, and they got to bring in the RCMP divers at great expense, and they're working remotely at great cost. Guess what? That comes out of the 30 million, so something else has to give for that. And that's where we're being shortchanged big time. It's a provincial budget issue, and definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah, and again, right, I feel very strongly about this, and it's a basic right of our community to have police protection. And right now, we are not up to snuff. And I want to make it clear, this is not a knock against the members, obviously.
No.
The members are doing everything they can and more. They're being forced to work overtime when they're tired, when they're not able to do it. You've got members who are experiencing a lot of burnout, and this is not fair to the members. It's not fair to the members, it's not fair to the town, it's not fair to the region, and it's not fair to the people to have this. And something needs to be done to make sure that we get increased policing and the resources we require here in Central and Grand Falls, Windsor. Just a couple more. Yeah, Councillor Finn.
Deputy Mayor, Mr. Mayor. I have to agree with the Deputy Mayor, and I know we've chatted about this, more than chatted, but we discussed it in February originally, and in March later on, and here it continues on. And as the Deputy Mayor said, it's gotten worse. The number of police officers we have are less per capita than we should have, comparison to the ratios in the Avalon, Northeast Avalon, Labrador, and Corner Brook region. And it's just totally unacceptable, given that the RCMP are a discounted police force for the province to have. You know, if they have, when they have them, you know, they get 30% off, because the feds pay 30% of that cost. And so not only do we have the cheaper force, we're not even getting the full amount of policing that we should have, just to be comparable. I mean, is crime any less important in Grand Falls-Windsor or the surrounding communities? Because this is an issue for the surrounding communities as well, because our detachment serves a large geographic area as well. And when a member is in Leading Tickles, well, you know, they're an hour and a half from responding back in Grand Falls-Windsor, and that's the reality of it. And so there is certainly an argument to be made that not only should we be on par per capita, but we should probably exceed because of the geographic ranges, because you just can't respond. I mean, you would never have a fire department that took an hour and a half to respond, because you wouldn't need them. All you need is a mop-up crew, you know, because everything would be burnt. So you don't structure fire departments that way, but yet police can be. It's just ridiculous. So I just wanted to echo the Deputy Mayor's comments and your own comments, Mr. Mayor. And I think because Council has discussed this, I think that Council will make a concerted effort over the next while to educate our citizens on what it is and apply whatever pressure is required to our provincial representatives to change the situation.
I just got one more thing I wanted to mention, Mr. Mayor, and thanks to Councillor Finn for adding to that. And there's a lot of other statistics and facts that we could point to, and we will in the coming while. The last point I wanted to make is with reference to ATV access. We talked about Mudfest tonight. We know we got a lot of ATV enthusiasts here in Grand Falls-Windsor. We talked about, even before my time on council had discussed the route that would be established to take ATV users, side-by-side users from the trailway down and across the river. Right now, you either have to go to, I think, Bishop's Falls is the closest you'd have to go east in order to unload your vehicle legally. And I'm not sure about west, but it's a fair distance outside of town. It might be as far as up by Thunderbrook, Leechbrook area. Regardless, yeah. But regardless, people are anxious to try to get this, and I don't mean to railroad anybody or bring this up, but we spoke about it before. And the mill demolition now is underway. They're saying 18 months. So you're looking at a year and a half before we even look at possibly getting access to the land. But at some point, the provincial government have agreed, I think, to give a corridor that could be used for ATV access. So I would hope that we should start looking at that sooner rather than later to allow our residents to be able to get from the trailway safely and conveniently to across the river. And vice versa. We can also encourage people who may be in the area to get out and get to the trailway and open up access to a lot of the businesses and restaurants and that kind of stuff in the area as well. I don't know how difficult that would be at this point, but it's something that we can pursue. And I know it may come at some cost, but that's something council will have to consider once we see what it's going to cost. But I do know a lot of people, and I'm sure everybody hears it, a lot of ATV users say to me, when are you going to get that access to the river? I mean, jumpins, we're waiting, and a year and a half is a long time. So I wouldn't want to see us 2.5 years before we're able to do that. If it's possible to do it now, we should act now. And I'll end on that note. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you to everybody for their participation in other business.
I ran out of space in the middle.
Good point. I just wanted to mention everything else has been pretty much covered, and I won't rehash anything, but I did have the privilege and pleasure of attending the Special Olympics walk on last Saturday. I had a great time. Walked down Main Street and back, and it's always encouraging to spend time with Special Olympics, and certainly children and adults with special needs. It's really, I always find it quite humbling and quite an experience, and always excited to do that. And I also have a release from the Special Olympics, and I'll just read this as it is presented to me. The Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador is dedicated to enriching the lives of individuals with an intellectual disability through active participation in sport. The Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador Exploits Hurricanes are very excited to have 2 Special Olympic athletes chosen for the Special Olympics Team Newfoundland Labrador Squadron to attend the Special Olympics Canada National Winter Games to be held in Corner Brook, Newfoundland Labrador in March of 2016. They are 2 of 70 individuals to make up Team Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador. Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador Exploits Hurricanes have not had a Special Olympic athlete attend a national competition in about 10 years. Our male Special Olympic athlete is Melvin Hammonds. Of course, we all know Melvin. Melvin's around the stadium, or Melvin's around the town. So Melvin will be competing in snowshoeing, and a female Special Olympics athlete is Stacy Woolridge, and she will be competing in cross-country skiing. Both are our Special Olympic athletes at a dream to one day go and compete on a national stage and have an opportunity to qualify to compete on the world stage, which is Austria in 2018. And if there's any way that Melvin and Stacy are going to do it, they're going to do it. And I know that Melvin has been out looking for sponsors. So if anybody is listening tonight and you'd like to sponsor Melvin, I'm sure that if you see him around town, just stop him and make a contribution, and certainly it would be well worth it. And Melvin and Stacy now have their own trainer, and both train at least 3 times per week in preparation for these National Winter Games. And they also cross-train in other sports, such as aquatics and athletics, of course, track and field, along with the following a mental training program and nutrition program. The Special Olympics Newfoundland Labrador Exploits Hurricanes are proud to have 2 dedicated Special Olympics athletes represent Newfoundland Labrador at the 2016 Special Olympics Canada Winter Games, especially on home soil. And on behalf of Council, I'd like to congratulate Melvin and Stacy, and certainly wish them all the best as they prepare and get ready for the Nationals, and I'm sure that they will do us proud. And I know if most of us have probably talked to Melvin in the last few days, he can hardly wipe the smile off his face. He's so excited and can't wait, and of course every time he's just beaming, talking about the fact that he's going to be representing the Hurricanes at the Special Olympics. So again, thank you to all of the volunteers, all the coaches, and everybody that works with our Special Olympians. They are dedicated to what they do, and this is great. This is gravy or icing on the cake when we see this opportunity. So certainly take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to all the volunteers, and certainly wish Melvin and Stacy all the best as they prepare for the Newfoundland or the Canada Special Olympic Games in Corner Brook. Okay, that's it for me. So we have a motion to adjourn. Councillor Finn and Councillor Pinson, and we'll see you in 3 weeks. What's that?